So, hi there, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of RSSDI Diabetes Bytes. And We Hear You is a program that is for you. And today we're going to be having a very, very special episode because we're going to talk about little champions of type 1 condition. So, we know that, having type 1 diabetes may be sometimes perceived as challenging, and that's exactly the reason why we have three wonderful persons joining us today. Uh, Master Zayan,
Yes.
Miss Arushi, and also Jazz Shetty from across India. And I'll be introducing one after the other. So, first, Arushi Sinha. She is currently a third year BA student and has got type 1 diabetes since almost a decade now. And she's on insulin pump therapy since 2019. And now she aims to help spread awareness about type 1 diabetes through her work and conversations. So she is an inspiration and a motivation for many of you who are out there. Now coming to Zion, he was detected with diabetes about 3 years back. Now he's in standard three and very interested in sports. So very lively young boy, and again motivation for most of his classmates. Finally, I have my very good friend Jazz, who is a versatile person. She is a founder and director of the Diabetes Foundation, which is a global movement to make those with type 1 diabetes feel heard, understood, and supported and celebrated. She's also IDF's Young Leader of Diabetes for Southeast Asia for 2019 to 22, and she's also a professional dancer, choreographer, theater artist, and a published author. More I say about Jazz is going to be less, and you'll hear from her. And so I'm going to now hand over this session to Jazz because she would be conducting this entire session, talking to Arushi, talking to Zion, and so it's all over to you, Jazz. Good luck.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supratik, for that kind and warm introduction. And a big thank you to Dr. Purvi Chawla and everyone at RSSDI for this invite and for organizing this kind of a show for all of us. I am constantly in awe of the amount of lived experience that RSSDI wants to bring out. And I think there's no better way than to kick off with this session. So, Arushi and Zayan, I know Zayan personally actually, and I've had the good pleasure of interacting with him. And we have Arushi here from Mumbai as well. Both are people with type 1 diabetes, including myself. So, all three of us here are people with type 1 diabetes. And today we're going to talk a little bit about our life, our experience, our lessons, our challenges, and our celebrations. All right. So, let's begin. Firstly, Zayan, how are you? All good? Very good. Lovely. How are your sugars today? सब ठीक था sugars में?
हाँ,
Hypo
नहीं,
हुआ,
today he
hyper
went
हुआ,
low.
हुआ?
Today
He
he
went
went low.
low? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, कितना हुआ था Zayan?
58.
58 हुआ. फिर कैसे correct किया?
Chocolate?
क्या खाया?
Candy.
Candy khaya. All right. Okay. See, guys, I'm just giving you a very live example of the life of a person with type 1. Any day, we do have some peaks and some lows. And Zayan today had a 58, but corrected it with some candy. So proud of you. And Arushi, how have you been? How have your sugars been today? Let's start with that.
Hi, Jazz. I'm great. My sugars have been pretty good actually ever since I started the new pump, which is Medtronic 780G. But I'm hoping that this continues for the rest of my time with Medtronic.
No, absolutely. And I think, there's a running joke in the type 1 community that some days you could do everything right and still have unright sugars. So, I hope all of you actually have the best sugars. All right, so let's start a little bit start from the beginning, right? So just to give our viewers, our audience, an understanding of type 1 diabetes. So let's start with your diagnosis story. So very briefly, maybe Arushi, you can begin. When you were diagnosed, what happened? What were your first reactions? What were your first thoughts? What were your parents' first thoughts? And how did that all, go down?
Okay, so I think I was in sixth grade when I was first diagnosed, and I remember I used to fall sick very often. And this one day we went for a checkup right after school, and the doctor asked me to get my blood sugar levels checked because she noticed that I had lost a lot of weight. And I still remember that when we got the results back, my sugar levels were 646, which is very high, and it can, in some situations, lead to a diabetic coma, which is why I was rushed to the hospital. And mom was there with me, and dad was out on a business commitment for the evening. And I remember feeling so confused because at that time nobody knew that type 1 diabetes existed or that it happened to children. So I remember getting admitted, and then all of these nurses, they're checking my sugar levels, they're putting on drips. And I remember it was a very scary experience. But now that I look back to it, I am not that scared that it happened. I'm actually, in a way, glad that it did because it ended up with me leading a very disciplined life up till now. So that is definitely something that I'm blessed about. So yeah, that's how it went.
Lovely. I think I just love the bit about it was scary, but I'm not scared anymore. And type 1 diabetes is such a thing that there are days, even after years of diagnosis, I've been living with it for now 13, 14 years. You've been living for 10 years. Zayan has been living for about 3 years. कभी कभी डर लग सकता है, बट इतना डर नहीं लगता है जितना पहली बार लगा था, because you learn to live with it, you learn to grow with it, you learn to take it under your wing, make it disciplined with you. So thank you for sharing your story, Arushi, and very brave of you for that. Zayan, आप बताओ कि जब आपका डायग्नोसिस हुआ था आपको क्या याद है? आई विल अंडरस्टैंड मम्मी का स्टोरी लेटर, बट आपको क्या याद है? कैसे हुआ था? क्या हुआ था? बताओ।
मेरे को 7 o'clock को उठा के चेक करते थे।
वहाँ पर ओके।
अच्छा।
नहीं, जब डायग्नोस्ट हुए थे तब कौन सा हॉस्पिटल गए थे, क्या हुआ था? डू यू रिमेम्बर दैट टाइम?
You don't remember? Yeah, how old were you?
6.
He was 6 years old.
Yes.
So, why don't you tell
He
us a
was,
little bit?
he was diagnosed like 5th December 2019. He was
Hmm.
passing urine frequently. So okay. Just went to a family doctor.
It's okay, Sarah, even I was. मेरे साथ भी यही हुआ था. हाँ. Go ahead.
Went to a family doctor, and he suggested some blood test and all. So he was hungry. I told him, "Chal, have aloo ka paratha, bahar mil raha tha, have aloo ka paratha, then we'll go." And then we went, and his sugar level was 680. 680, yes. And then he was admitted to hospital, and there we were informed in morning that he has to take insulin whole his life, like
Yeah.
that. So we were very shocked. But
Yeah.
now we are used to, like, it's
Yeah.
okay, we all are living healthy life because of him.
Absolutely. बिल्कुल. नहीं ज़यान कोई healthy life नहीं lead कर रहा.
कर
हाँ.
रहा ना
Hmm.
सिर्फ मैं।
Of course.
सिर्फ मैं
हाँ.
even
Correct.
mummy.
सिर्फ मैं. Mummy and you. So no, I think the takeaway over here is against. I also want to just take a moment here. The same symptoms of diagnosis for anyone who's watching out there. What even Arushi said, what even Rosina and Zayan said, that and the same with me as well when I was diagnosed as well. That a lot of urine, you're drinking a lot of water, you're constantly going to the bathroom, you are losing a lot of weight, and you're constantly tired. So if you would like to remember the 4 T's of diagnosis: tired, thinner, toilet, and thirsty. Just for people who are not type 1 who are watching the show, just keep a indication that these are the 4 T's of diagnosis, and a lot of severe complications, severe DKA can be avoided if you get those 4 symptoms and are a little bit vigilant about that. So, and I think what both of them said, what Arushi said, that I am now living a more disciplined life, and what even Zayan said, ki now we're all living a more healthy life. This is a great way to look at type 1 diabetes in a more positive light. And I give kudos to both of you for looking at your condition like that. Which sort of takes me to my next question, Arushi, that there was, like you said, you were confused, you were scared, you were shocked. What do you think is your reaction to type 1 diabetes now, and how have you gotten here?
So, I would say that social media has played a huge role in changing my perspective because I realized somewhere in the last 2 years of the pandemic, I started seeing a lot of targeted posts about type 1 diabetes on Instagram. And through that, I found a lot of organizations, I found a lot of fellow individuals with type 1 diabetes, and I got to connect with them. And I saw that they were using that power of social media to create that awareness. And then I realized that, all of these people have played a role in me accepting my diagnosis finally. And now I make sure that through my social media, I'm able to do the same. So I am very proud now. I was very scared earlier and I was pretty against having this condition, but I am not anymore. I embrace it.
You definitely embrace it, and you embrace it with a lot of style, I must say. So I'm very proud of you for that. And you're absolutely right, social media now is a deliverer of very powerful messages. Like, for example, today's talk that we're also doing, it hopefully it helps a couple people just embrace their condition. um, Zayan, what about you? आपको अभी आपके टाइप 1 डायबिटीज के बारे में क्या लगता है? आई नो कि तुम हमारे स्टार हो डायबिटीज में, तो तुम सबके स्टार हो, सबके फेवरेट हो। तो आप आपका टाइप 1 डायबिटीज इतने प्राउडली दिखाते हो, कैसे दिखाते हो? आपको डर नहीं लगता अभी?
स्कूल में ग्लूकोमीटर लेके जाता है. He takes glucometer and check himself, and all kids are like, he's so strong. Auntie, he's so strong. Yes, he's strong. What is this? Why are you giving this? There are many questions.
या एंड जयन, आप क्या बोलते हो क्वेश्चंस को? अगर आप शुगर चेक कर रहे हो स्कूल में, तो आपके फ्रेंड्स क्या बोलते हैं?
क्या
कुछ
बोल
भी नहीं बोलते, सिर्फ देखते हैं.
देखते हैं और आप अच्छे से अपना शुगर चेक करते हो? Very good. I think it's these small things of not hiding and going to the bathroom to check your condition.
No, no.
It's about embracing it openly, because this is something you have, this is something you live with, and this is not something to be ashamed of. So I think these small things, and Zayan at this age being very open and cool about it, like I've seen him being very cool with his blue heart and this and that, and he's checking his sugar in front of his classmates, and it starts from there. It starts from that small things like that, which help actually break the stigma around the condition. So Zayan, I'm very proud of you. हमेशा ऐसे ही करना, सबके सामने शुगर चेक करना, बिकॉज इसमें कोई डरने वाली बात थोड़ी है हमको, है ना? और कोई अगर पूछेगा तो आप एडुकेट करो कि हाँ, ये मेरा ग्लूकोमीटर है, मुझे टाइप 1 डायबिटीज है। करेक्ट? आप करते हो किसी को एडुकेट, जयान? कोई पूछता है तो नहीं करते हो? I think it's good. The start of just doing it out in public, not being shy about it, not being embarrassed about it, is a great start and a great win. So very, very good about that. So like we're talking about stigma getting, dissolved with small acts like this. Arushi, what about you? What are your thoughts on the stigma that we face? Have you ever faced any stigma personally about this condition? And if yes, how did you sort of get over that?
So one of the most common stigma which I feel like every diabetic, irrespective of type 1 and type 2, would relate to is चीनी कम खाओ तो फिर तुमको diabetes नहीं होगा. And that was something that I faced with my friends in school. They used to be like, oh, please don't eat something sweet. Oh, something will happen to you. Oh, your sugars will go high. How do we? And I remember I was just like, it's not about completely getting rid of, those sweet treats that I've been looking forward to my entire life. but it's about taking those in moderation. And again, as I said, it's all about discipline, and it's about telling people that, thank you for your concern, but I understand how it will affect me, and I am okay. I sometimes had to even tell them that my doctor is okay with it as long as I eat it in moderation. And they were like, okay, and they were like, that can also happen. And
Yes.
all of these little things just play out.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point, right? That unsolicited advice is not something that we are new to. I think if you are lived with type 1 diabetes, I'm sure रोजीना आपको भी काफी लोग ने कुछ ना कुछ नुस्खा तो दिया ही होगा.
बहुत
And I will definitely come to you. I want to hear all the. I have been told time and again that you've got type 1 because बचपन में बहुत चीनी खाया होगा. Till date, and you'll have educated people telling you this. People say that stop insulin की आदत लग जाएगी, insulin के side effects होते हैं, ये वो फलाना ढिमका सब बहुत सुना है हमने. And I want to know what are your hacks to deal with people like this, because ये बंद नहीं होने वाला है. जितना भी हम कोशिश करें, there will always be that one person who will come and give you some advice, which is fine. But how do you respond to this? How do you react to this? And how do you, in that reaction, educate that person? तो रोजीना, आप क्या करते हो अगर आपको ऐसा कोई, आई एम श्योर, बोलते हैं, तो आपका रिस्पॉन्स इसमें क्या होता है?
मतलब मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम जो बड़े हैं वही बोलते हैं, तो हमेशा से नहीं आंटी ऐसा नहीं है, आप मतलब फाइंड आउट करो टाइप 1 डायबिटीज़ क्या है। ये ज़यान ने बहुत चॉकलेट्स खाई है इसलिए नहीं हुआ है, या मैंने प्रेगनेंसी में कुछ खाया है इसीलिए नहीं हुआ। तो मतलब
एब्सोल्युटली.
ये नॉर्मल है, ये ऑटो इम्यून है, खुद ब खुद होता है। इसका कोई रीज़न अभी तक पता नहीं चला है और ना ही मतलब अभी तक कोई रीज़न है भी नहीं। तो आई वाज़ लाइक तो
एब्सोल्युटली. Yeah, and I think Rosina, जो आप कर रहे हो, this is what my advice has always been to people. And Arushi, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. That कभी कभी क्या होता है कि बिकॉज हम इतना कनेक्टेड है ये कंडीशन से, आप माँ हो किसी की, वी आर लिविंग विद द कंडीशन, हम थोड़ा इमोशनल हो जाते हैं, हमको थोड़ा गुस्सा आता है. And I used to be like this when I was growing up. I used to get very emotionally driven and angry that you don't know anything and this is wrong and damn. Over the years, I've realized the way, Rosina, you're saying is the best way. You fight stigma with science. It's very simple, and you just say that show me the evidence, show me the research, let me show you some evidence, let me show you the research. And I think the calmer and more collected you are in sort of explaining this, that person also realizes that okay, maybe I have been misinformed. कि अच्छा आप बोल रहे हो कि ये डायबिटीज के लिए है, कौन से टाइप के लिए है आपको पता है that there are different types of diabetes also. Here we're talking about type 1, type 2, there are multiple other types also. So Arushi, what has been your mode of communication, and has it changed over the years? Have you had similar experiences like me where I used to get angry when people used to say things like this?
Definitely. I feel like now that I think about it, I have reacted like that. But I am now at that stage where I'm like, एक कान से सुनो, दूसरे कान से निकाल दो. And sometimes it, like, for example, I had somebody come up to me and say that, Ayurveda can cure your diabetes. And that is something that I remembered as Rosina auntie was just speaking about it, that people come after you with these cures and solutions, but you need to understand that when somebody has a particular condition, they have probably looked up cures just like you, and they may or may not just maybe knowing better about this. So I still remember they gave me contact details of this Ayurvedic doctor, but I provided them with like these couple of articles which spoke about how so far there hadn't been any scientific findings to a cure. And I sent those back to them, and they were like, oh, okay, like, we're sorry, we didn't know. Like, these things have happened a lot over the years, and they still happen, but you should always have these certain articles just there to like help you, back you up.
Absolutely. And I think it's the best way of going about it. In the process, you are educating people, you are trying to communicate the facts. And again, like Arushi, you said, social media is great because I think we need to normalize the fact that type 1 diabetes is insulin dependent, and I think we need to speak more about it. There needs to be more representation and things like this, and just talking more openly about it, being proud while talking about it also plays a huge impact. Yeah. सो आई वांट टू आस्क यू गाइस कि बचपन में कभी आई एम श्योर आपने ये काफी सुना होगा कि अरे इतनी कम उम्र में हो गया, सिंपैथी काफी आई होगी. हाउ हैव यू डेल्ट विद दैट? डू यू स्टिल डील विद दैट? जयान, यस, बोलो.
See?
Yes.
आप कैसे डील करते हो अगर आपको कोई बोलता है? Arushi, would you like to take that question?
Yes. So I remember, like, when I was diagnosed with it, also, I had a few of dad's friends or mom's friends just reach out and be like, we're so sorry to hear about this. But I just, over the time, I've realized that there's nothing to be sorry about in this. And over here, I would like to bring up this one thing that happened when I was admitted in the hospital the first time, which was I had called up dad and told him that I was getting admitted. And he canceled his commitment and he came to the hospital and he came with all of his friends that he had gone out with, and they completely changed the environment. We obviously hugged, we spoke a little bit about it, but then they changed the environment to just like jokes, and it was like, there was this small party like happening where we're all talking to each other and they were there. And to have that kind of support when things around you are so overwhelming, it is something that has followed me through the years. And even now, when I go out for any like gathering, if people ask me, I will tell them and they will want to know more. And I feel like that's a great change that has happened when it comes to like normalizing conversations around it also. And I definitely want to use that curiosity to take conversations forward.
Absolutely. I think it's so well put. And I think that's the biggest thing that when we talk about language and we talk about representing, I always say that the language you use to describe yourself plays such a huge impact on how people see you. So if I am going to stay, Array, superstar, there we go. Zayan normalizing and killing type 1 diabetes. Fabulous. Too good, Zayan. Rockstar, full rockstar he is only. Type 1 rockstar. है ना? So yes, so as we were talking about just the language you use for yourself, right? So if I am going to present myself as I am someone who is suffering from type 1 diabetes, that is the way people are going to see you out of no fault of their own. So I think it's time that people who are living with the condition start presenting themselves as, yeah, I'm a person living with type 1, it's a part of my life. What's new? You know, the moment we are more confident about our condition, it's the way that people are going to see us. So what you said about having a party, okay, normalizing it, just joking about it, it's fine. And I know Zayan sort of has the same outlook. I know Rosina really sort of proudly shows off her son. और आप कभी उसको नहीं sympathy नहीं देते हो, and that's I think इसलिए आपकी family
बिल्कुल भी
नहीं.
नहीं, लाइक बाहर मतलब उसके फ्रेंड्स भी, आई एम लाइक उसको बेचारा टाइप डील मत करो, जैसा नॉर्मल खेलते हो वैसा ही खेलो, ऐसा लाइक
आप बोले नहीं हो कभी.
आपके
Exactly,
सामने
right?
नहीं बोलते.
अब of course, हम बात कर रहे हैं यार. नहीं, मम्मी कभी ऐसे आपको बोलती है?
मम्मी बोलते हैं ना आपको. हाँ,
नहीं.
आप और भैया सेम हो, कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है यू हैव टाइप 1 डायबिटीज सो आई विल ट्रीट यू लाइक पैम्पर्ड यू एंड ऑल, नहीं.
Yep.
Very true. Very, very true. I think it's such an important point for all the caregivers is to also be very clear about that. That just because you've got type 1 doesn't mean you're going to get special leniency in other things, right? That padne wale, like my mother used to scold me even if I had type 1 or not, agar maine kuch galti ki ho. So, and that's the entire thing about normalizing it. Of course, you take care, but you treat it like something you have and it's something you grow with. Which sort of brings me to my next question about, we know that yes, we're talking about normalizing it, but at the same time there are days when type 1 can become very hard. There are days when there are highs and lows, and you can have peaking highs and crashing lows, and it's a tough life. I'm not taking away from the seriousness of how tough the life is as well. So on days that are like that, Arushi, how do you sort of rise above that? because it can be painful at times. It can be really stressful. You can get burnt out. So, how do you come out of that?
So, one thing that I realized very recently was that this amount of stress we take has an impact on our sugar levels, and our sugar levels has an impact on the kind of mood we have in that moment. And I realized that, when I'm working, my sugar levels are fine, but there'll be days where I'll overwork myself and my sugar levels would be going up and down. And I realized pretty late, but the fact that I realized also is a big deal for me, that I am now able to tell when my body needs that break. And then I take those breaks and I feel so much better. I would do nothing. I would maybe like Netflix and chill, for example, on that day. And I'll eat like very light food, घर का खाना, all of these little things that help me get back to that state of not stressing or not overworking. And those have really helped bring my sugar levels back to the range that they're supposed to be in.
So true, right? I think it's very important because type 1 diabetes is a 24 by 7 job. Okay, almost, right? You're constantly thinking about your sugars, you're constantly taking care of them. You get no days off. कि दिवाली है तो आज डायबिटीज नहीं करना है, ऐसा तो होता नहीं है. It's a 24/7 commitment, rather. It's and you need to be committed to it. But that doesn't mean that you can't allow yourself a few days to be a little lenient with it. And I think that's very important. And even for caregivers, right? There's caregiver burnout is a very real thing. So for mothers who are with young kids specifically, it's important to take care of yourself as well, because there are days where it seems like too much, and there are times that you need to allow yourself a little leniency that aaj sugar's perfect nahi hai, chalega. It's not the end of the world. And so Rosina, how do you deal with that? बहुत कभी कभी जब हो जाता है, how do you take care of yourself and how do you take care of Zayan?
That day, like my family give me a break. आज तो कुछ मत कर. We'll see, like Zayan's elder brother check his sugar level and give him insulin. Sometimes, like
You are muted, Rosina. Mute पे हो आप.
one once once in a month, if I got exhausted, like my family takes over, and my family treat me like you don't do anything, just be
Yeah,
calm.
yeah. That's
So
such a
family
good.
plays very important role. We cannot do alone anything, like even kids and like
Yes,
family.
and that's such a good point to mention about your support system. I think if you have type 1 diabetes or a member of your family has type 1 diabetes, for everyone watching, I think creating a support system which can, like Rosina said, let her take a day off. कि आज somebody else takes care. Or just to have people who can support you in when you're feeling low, to pump you up at times also. So Arushi, I think what has been your support system like, and how have they helped you
Somebody know
live so
that.
confidently and take care of your type 1? You're mute, darling. You're mute.
Sorry. So I've had mom and dad be next to me throughout my diagnosis, getting back to it. I still remember that in the start when I was on insulin injections, I used to be scared because I'm not scared of injections, but the thought of having to like prick yourself every day is so scary. And that's when I remember that my mother stepped up and she took the responsibility of delivering those shots to me. And then there used to be moments where I was so careless, where I have forgotten that maybe my insulin's about to get over, I should ask them to get more, and yet they would rush out in those like midnight to go get it from a nearby chemist. And all of these little things have really helped me. And obviously both my parents have always just made sure that I have what I need to be able to maintain my sugar levels. And even then they'll allow me a little bit of cheat days here and there. So they have never changed their perception of who I was. And one thing that stands out to me is how proudly my dad talks about how well I took my diagnosis. And that just makes me wonder how well they have taken my diagnosis to be so proud about it. So it
Absolutely.
really,
And I think to put up brave faces when they are also extremely scared, Because I'm sure, like Rosina also said, that there was fear and there was shock, and to cover that up with bravery so that your child is not getting even more confused is, I think, very kudos to our caregivers as well. So support system in type 1 diabetes is a crucial role, and I think all of us would just hope and pray that anyone with type 1 has a support system that can pick them up when they're down, that can really sort of take care of them at times. And that does so much to make a person with type 1 become independent and strong as well. It does so much for that type 1 then to proudly show off their condition. It comes from that support system, and that support system doesn't have to always be family. Find your dia buddies. I think peer support is so crucial in a chronic lifelong condition, like Arushi mentioned, right? That when she found her on social media as well, just that sense of loneliness gets dissolved, and that does so much to then actually empower you as well. So I think a message for all our type 1s is to please go and find some support network, some peer support, and it'll do wonders for you. All right. So I think before we wrap up, I would like to know what is your one message to type 1s and one message to the world. And then we have a fun rapid fire for both our lovely dia buddies over here. So, Anushi, one message to type 1s and one message to the world.
So one message to the type ones would be to take it one day at a time. It is something I learned the hard way, but every day is so different. And so you need to just take it one day at a time. That's what's going to help you become stronger. And a message to the world would be that, you know, even though we have diabetes, it doesn't change who we are and who you knew us as at the end of the day. So don't treat us differently. I think we're still the same person and we're still the friend, the sister, or, the person you knew. So just treat us the same. That's all we need.
Fabulous. Love it. Absolutely. One day at a time. And I always say that small successes reap big rewards. So you take it one day at a time. Don't worry about the end game, because your one day will actually determine that end game. And Rosina, Zayan, for you, what is one message to type 1s, one message to the world? Zayan, what would you like to tell all your dia buddies? आप क्या बोलना चाहोगे उनको?
See? just
क्या बोलना
accept it
चाहते हो?
just accept it yourself as you are, and
No,
Zayan will say. है ना Zayan?
that we should not fear.
Yeah, absolutely. You should not fear, because you're doing it so well and so strongly. है ना? Great. All right. And I think let's end on that happy note with a quick rapid fire. So, small answers. Arushi, let's start with you. What is the most crazy myth you have heard about type 1?
Something that I did mention, which is चीनी खाने से हो जाता है type 1.
Absolutely. One
it
piece
is
of advice
reversible.
you,
Chocolates
it is,
खाने
It is reversible.
that's the craziest myth. All right. Yes. Okay. One piece of advice you always get. Arushi?
sugar
Um,
free.
yes, that definitely. कि sugar free cow, it's much better than having sugar. And I don't think so. But
All right. Rosina, same piece of advice? हमेशा जो आपको एडवाइस मिलता है?
कड़वा खाओ कुछ like
करेले, करेले
तो
को.
ठीक होगा.
I think that I'm with you guys on that. I've also been told कि करेले का पत्ता को पैर के नीचे डालो. तो बॉडी में तो जा ही नहीं रहा है, बट नहीं, पैर के नीचे जरूर डालना. Okay then. Zayan, your favorite hypo treat?
When you feel low,
लो जब जा रहा है, आपको क्या पसंद है?
मेरे को पसंद
क्या खाते हो आप?
grapes.
Grapes.
Grace, all right.
No,
And
no, no.
Arushi?
I am
Strawberry chocolate.
okay. Mine is also the same. I go for chocolate, or there's always a box of sweets in my fridge, so I'll run for those sweets.
All right. Your favorite injection site? Zayan,
In-
आपको कहाँ पसंद है इंजेक्शन लेना?
Thai.
High.
High. All right, good. And Aru, for you, I mean, I know you're on the pump, but what was
I
your
was
favorite site?
my stomach. I have had people tell me, you should start using it on your thigh or your arm, but I'm just like, stomach is so convenient.
I agree with you on that. I've always run my pump on my stomach. So I think we're twins that way. All right, fabulous. Thank you so much. I am extremely proud of both of you for living such strong, independent, confident lives. Continue doing the work you're doing, continue being as awesome as you are. And thank you so much for sharing your advice and your stories with us today. Dr. Purvi, back to you. I hope we have been on time and hope this session has helped people out there who are living with type 1 diabetes.
I have to confess that you all have inspired me. You guys were just so amazing. And I have a big, big, big thank you to offer to all of you, Jazz, Arushi, as well as Anne, and your mom. Thank you very much, Mrs. Farishta, also for joining us and sharing such delightful tips and experiences and your ups and downs. I think it's really going to make a difference to a lot of people who struggle with knowing that they have diabetes and how will they accomplish things that they have dreamed of. So thank you for being that beacon of hope and light. And with that, I'm overwhelmed. So once again, we are going to reach out to you for further stories and further experiences, or you feel free to reach out to us in case there is something that you think that will make a difference to the lives of others. Definitely reach out to us, and we'll make sure that we hear you. So thank you once again from the RSSDI social media cell for doing this for us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.